Nasty. Maureen. Warning. This is a horror story. I was in London Zoo, and I think it was 1976, and I had a season ticket, and I liked to look at the animals when no one else was there. It was like in winter. Have you seen the polar bear? Don't know whether it's still there. It paced to and fro along the rock, and then every now and then it would dive into the freezing water, and you'd die if you went in there. And then when it got out, it would shake all the water off. And well, anyway, I was watching this when I heard a voice behind me. You see my mate over there? I looked round, and it was the Bakerloo Flea Woman. Oh, hello, I said. I was just looking at the polar bear. Oh, well, you ought to take a gander at the Grizzly, she said. My mate's in there. Oh, I said, oh, right. You know one of the zookeepers, do you? No, she says. Oh, well, who's your mate then, I asked. One of the Grizzlies, she says. Oh, yeah? What's he called? Maureen. Right then, I said. All right, well, take me to meet her. So off we went, past those goat things with, the twisty horns and that horrible vulture that stands there kind of ripping at bits of old flesh. Actually, its neck looks like bits of old flesh as well. Over to the Grizzlies, the grizzly bears. There she is. Maureen, she called to her. Maureen! Maureen! And there, in the corner of the bear's pen, is a great big grizzly. And I looked at it. Its eyes kind of like rolled over towards us. See? Said the Bakerloo Flea Woman. She knows me. Knows you, my foot, I said. She does that to everyone. Watch this. What's she called, did you say? Maureen? That's it, she says. Right, I said, Maureen! Maureen! Well, all Maureen did at that was lick her foot. See? Said the Bakerloo Flea Woman. She only looks up for me. All right, I said. How'd you know her then? Ah, now you're asking, she says. You're not going to stand here in the freezing cold and hear this one out, are you? Let's go over to the Café. So off we went, past the gorillas, sulking in their house, past the gibbons, woo-hoo-hoo, whooping around like kids going mad in an adventure playground, woo-hoo-hoo. And we went into the Café, and we were the only people there, apart from a young couple looking into each other's eyes and trying to drink one cup of coffee at the same time. Let's see, she says. Right, Maureen. Well, it all starts with the buses. You see, old Maureen, she nearly got run over by one. By a bus, I said. Yep, she said. They don't drive buses round the zoo, do they? I said, no. In London, a double-decker bus in the Holloway Road. I tried to picture it. A huge grizzly bear walking across the Holloway Road with a double-decker bus zooming past it. No, couldn't be true. You see, son, she said, I was a clippy, bus conductress to you on the number 43, among others. On this particular day, the crew was me and Lloyd. A day much like any other, coming down the Holloway Road. Shopping day for many, round the old Holloway Arcade, Jones Brothers and all that. Under the railway bridge at Holloway Road station, I was on top, on the upper deck, right up the front, collecting the fares off about 5 kids who were busy driving the bus to Mars or somewhere. And then there's this big kid, easily 15, with the younger ones, and he says, half to Highbury Corner. Oh, you're never a half, I says. He says, oh, come on, son, don't mess me about. And I held up my hand and did my I'm getting fed up look out of the window. Well, just as I looked out, I saw in front of us this whooping great big lorry. Nothing strange in that, except just as I'm looking at it, the back doors slowly open out towards us. And just as I'm thinking Lloyd's going to give the lorry driver a flash on his lights or something, this great fat grizzly bear rolls out the back of the lorry onto the Holloway Road, right in front of us. Of course, the kids went spare. It's a bear! It's a bear! And it certainly weren't no man dressed up. First thing it does is stand up on its rear legs, and it looks about 10 feet tall. Then it opens its mouth in a great big yawn. And you can see right down its throat, teeth, tongue, tonsils, the lot. It must have been about 2 foot from Lloyd's nose, sitting in the cab, driving down below me. Of course, Everyone on top with me is crowding to the front of the bus. They all want to get a sight of it. "It's a bear! It's a bear!" they keep shouting. Well, of course, it didn't just stand there. It turned. Maybe it thought it could get back into the lorry, but the doors had swung back. Of course, the fellas driving the lorry knew nothing about it, but then it starts loping up by the side of the lorry. Can you imagine? Sitting in the cab of a lorry thinking you got a grizzly bear safe and sound in the back, when suddenly it's standing there looking at you through the window. Well, that didn't last long. Next thing it does is cross the road towards Holloway Road station. By now there's cars hooting, people screaming, and the road is clearing like a bomb's about to go off. Cars are reversing down the Holloway Road, up the Holloway Road, and people are jumping off my bus and scarpering. Off they went, some of them leaving behind their bags of fruit and veg and what have you. They'd probably have been safer staying on board. I think it was the sight of everybody else bunking off that got them going. And once 2 or 3 were running, so was the rest. Most of them belted off down beside the college there. The fellas driving the lorry pulled into the side and got out. For a moment it seemed like it was just them, us and the bear. I was downstairs by now. I looked behind us and saw it was one of those days that the buses get all clogged up together. There was about 4 or 5 of us, not all 43s of course, standing there. The Grizzly by now had lurched back to our side of the road again. Well, I'll never know what made Lloyd do it, but blow me if he doesn't start the bus running forwards towards the bear. And the moment he does that, I'm shouting to Frank in the bus behind, who must have known what was going on by now, "Follow us!" I shouted. "We can trap it!" Goodness knows what made me say it, and goodness knows what made Frank agree. But there's now 2 buses making off down the Holloway Road after this huge, great big grizzly bear. Well, like I said, the road's clear by now, but the sight of these 2 giant red buses coming up to him sent the bear off down the road. On we went, the other buses following behind, trundling along after the bear down the Holloway Road. And the 3rd and 4th buses are spreading out across the road, and we're taking up the whole of the Holloway Road, both sides, and the old bear is loping along ahead of us. On we went, past the brewery tap, that's a pub. It's not going to poke its nose in there, is it, I thought, and go in there and go, "Half a lager, mate." No, on it went, past the old Arsenal Café. That isn't there anymore. It's not going to go in there, is it? You know, a bit of the old cup of tea, mister. Sorry, we don't serve Spurs supporters or bears. No, none of that either. On it went, past the kebab joints without stopping for a quick doner, you know, and there's people cowering in the doorways of their shops looking out of windows. You'd have thought we was the Queen, and that old bear looks like it's enjoying itself. I mean, it's really getting a chance to stretch its old legs. It's moseying up to the "Keep Left" sign on the island in the middle of the road. Next it's ambled across the road to poke its nose into a big catering place. Yeah, probably saw its reflection in the window, but for one moment it looked like it was going to go in there and order 140 dinners for a wedding reception. Yeah, and as we trundled on down towards it, it comes to the big motorcycle shop. Oh, maybe it's going to hop on a Honda next, I thought. Imagine it, a grizzly bear zooming down the Holloway Road on a Honda. And then before we know it, we're at Highbury Corner. Now, Highbury Corner, don't know whether you know it, it's not really a corner at all. It's a great big roundabout. The CB people, you know, on the shortwave, they call it Highbury Donut. In the middle, there's like a little park, trees, grass, bushes, flowers and stuff. So there's us coming down past Highbury and Islington Station. People rushing into the post office to hide, running off to Highbury Fields. And of course, the same thing's happening up the streets that feed into Highbury Corner. Cars are turning round and reversing away. People are getting into safe places to watch. And the buses are left standing there. Well, I don't know if it was the sight of our 4 or 5 buses coming down the Holloway Road together or what. Or the buses down all the other roads, Upper Street and all that, they start moving in towards the big Highbury Corner roundabout as well. So suddenly there's about 12 of us, 12 double-decker buses. Well, the old bear must have thought something was happening, because it was like we were surrounding that park space in the middle of the roundabout, a great big ring of buses. Now, there's a fence round the roundabout, And what with our buses closing in and the sight of the green leaves and flowers on the roundabout, the bear climbs the fence and was in. I don't suppose the men from the council ever thought when they were building that fence that it'd have to stand the weight of a 2-ton grizzly. Anyway, the grizzly bear was on the inside and we were on the outside. What I didn't know, though, was that those two fellas driving the truck that had the bear in had hopped on one of our buses. Somewhere along the line, the police had got to hear of it, all the fire services and the zoo, emergency people, and for all I know, there was a gang of SAS men on red alert, RAF helicopters, and goodness knows what was there. Next thing, the drivers and the keepers are at the fence looking in. The bear, well, he'd quietened down by now, he was just snuffling about in the bushes. And one of the keepers was calling out to it. That was the first time I heard its name. Maureen. He goes, yeah, Maureen. I thought, Maureen. Now, you'd never have known it was a Maureen to look at her, would you? Yeah, fancy that. Well, not long after that, the zoo people did their bit with them drug pellets and the old bear keeled over and went to sleep. And that was that. I mean, they had to shoot the pellets. Yeah. I mean, no one was going to go up to it and say, look here, Maureen, would you like to walk to your lorry now? This way. Sorry, the doors fell open, but we'll lock them next time. No, they didn't do that. No, they had to get this thing, well, it was like a breakdown truck to hoist her up. Yeah, and stick her in the lorry. To tell the truth, I didn't stick around to see all that, but I'm told it took about 20 grown men to push old Maureen in there. Then they carted her off to the zoo, right here. Of course, the papers next day, they were full of it. Maureen's day out and Maureen's removals. And there were pictures of her being hoisted into the truck. Sad to say, none of them got the picture that I wanted to see. It would have been like from high up, a picture of Highbury Corner, the roundabout, surrounded with all our buses, and in the middle, old Maureen, snuffling through the council flower beds, right? I mean, it was us in our buses that cornered it, wasn't it? And all the rest was, these drug guns and breakdown trucks and all. Oh, well, not to worry. I'll just have to carry the picture of it round in my head. I can always come in here and have a look at her. That's very nice, I thought. Look, I said, I've got to go. I'm going to have one more look at her myself now that you told me all this. You coming? And I went off to look at Maureen. And I was standing there looking at her when the keeper came out the little door of the bear's pen. You've been feeding Maureen, have you? I asked. And he looked at me and said, you what? You been feeding Maureen, have you? No, he said, I've been feeding the bears. Well, isn't that one Maureen? I said. No, he said, that's Samson. What about that one? I said, pointing to the other one. That's Betty, he said. Well, where's Maureen? You tried the shop, sir? People who get lost often go there, sir. I suddenly realised he thought I was some kind of a nutter. Have you ever looked after a bear in here called Maureen? I said. Not in the last 6 years we haven't. I'm sorry, sir, I can't hang about. And off he went. He was probably glad to get away. I went back to where the Bakerloo Flea Woman was. I was going to tell her it wasn't Maureen, it was Samson and Betty, but she wasn't there. Oh, well, I thought, just as well, it wouldn't be right somehow to tell her that her bear wasn't really the same one that fell off the back of a lorry, unless she'd made the whole thing up. No, she wouldn't have. Everything else she's told me is true, isn't it? I said to myself. And the thing is, I've never seen her since to find out. What do you think? Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to this channel, well, you can click on subscribe. If you want to like something, just click on like. And you can leave a comment as well. That's always nice. And don't forget my website, Michael Rosen, all one word, michaelrosen.co.uk.